In February 1741, at George Taylor's Gymnasium on the Tottenham Court Road, Jack Broughton, student of the great James Figg, and reigning champion of all England, beat a man to death in the ring. George Stephenson, a coachman from Yorkshire, who had famously once fought off 3 highwaymen, had the backing of the Prince of Wales, whereas Broughton's patron was the Prince's brother, the Duke of Cumberland. The fight deserves its own video, but to summarise, it was close, but not close enough. Both fighters took a huge amount of punishment, but Broughton proved to be the better man. They punched, they kicked, they grappled and threw each other, they fought on the ground, and they even used the stakes and ropes to help them dish out as much punishment as possible. But after some 40 minutes, Broughton landed a ferocious body shot, and Stephenson dropped senseless to the ground. Initially, all present thought he was dead, including Broughton, but it proved not to be so. He was taken to a room at the Adam and Eve Tavern, where he eventually regained consciousness. There, he was found to have a number of broken ribs and severe abdominal trauma. He lasted several days before succumbing to his injuries, during which time Broughton hardly left his side. The two became firm friends, and when Stephenson died, Jack Broughton swore never to fight again. However, after 2 years, the pressure from the fancy to fight again, and Broughton's inability to earn a living outside of the ring, drove the champion to reconsider. But he had conditions. In 1743, with the financial backing of his patron, the Royal Duke, he opened his own academy and published the first ever set of rules for boxing. By today's standards, these were laughably lax. But this was almost 280 years ago. Nothing like this had ever been done before, and for the time, it was truly revolutionary. They were designed to protect the fighters in 2 ways. Firstly, to set down rules about who was allowed to make decisions, and what was to be done with the stake money. This would prevent greedy backers from manipulating things to their own favour. Secondly, to protect the fighters from themselves and each other. They ruled out ground fighting, and they ruled out taking hold below the waist to prevent the most damaging of wrestling throws. It had only been 16 years earlier when Figg had fought Sutton for the championship, with cudgels, with swords, and with fists. They'd stopped for port in between rounds, and at one point Figg had been bodily thrown off the stage into the audience, who then threw him back onto the stage. The idea of controlling the fight, to the degree Broughton was suggesting, was considered absurd by many. But Broughton was the champion, and he still had the backing of some of the most powerful and influential men in the country, and so the rules were adopted. The world of combat changed beyond recognition, and a new sport was born. These rules formed the basis for all the variations that followed. Over time, more were added, and the London prize ring rules were born. It wasn't until 1867 when John Graham Chambers created the new and improved rules he named for the Marquis of Queensberry that Broughton's rules were abandoned. For 124 years, people fought according to the rules Jack Broughton created out of remorse for the death he caused to a man he called his friend. Modern writers and commentators often lay the creation of a new scientific style of boxing at the feet of one or other of the historical greats, whether it's Mendoza, Richmond, Johnson, or even Broughton himself. It was these rules that changed the game. These rules that allowed fighters to develop more scientific systems of striking. These rules that prevented the brutality of the prize ring from claiming more lives. So here they are, Broughton's rules in their entirety. 1. That a square of a yard be chalked in the middle of the stage, and every fresh set to after a fall, or being parted from the rails, each second is to bring his man to the side of the square and place him opposite to the other. Until they are fairly set to at the lines, it shall not be lawful for one to strike the other. 2. That in order to prevent any disputes the time a man lies after a fall, if the second does not bring his man to the side of the square within the space of half a minute, he shall be deemed a beaten man. 3. That in every main battle, no person whatever shall be upon the stage, except the principals and their seconds. The same rule to be observed in the by-battles, except that in the latter, Mr. Broughton is allowed to be upon the stage to keep decorum and to assist gentlemen in getting to their places, provided always he does not interfere in the battle, and whoever pretends to infringe these rules to be turned immediately out of the house. Everybody is to quit the stage as soon as the champions are stripped before the set to. 4. That no champion be deemed beaten unless he fails coming up to the line in the limited time, or that his own second declares him beaten. No second is to be allowed to ask his man's adversary any questions, or advise him to give out. 5. That in the by-battles, the winning man to have 2/3 of the money given, which shall be publicly divided upon the stage, notwithstanding any private agreement to the contrary. 6. That to prevent disputes in every main battle, the principals shall, on the coming on the stage, choose from among the gentlemen present 2 umpires, who shall absolutely decide all disputes that may arise about the battle. And if the 2 umpires cannot agree, the said umpires are to choose a third, who is to determine it. 7. That no person is to hit his adversary when he is down, or seize him by the ham, the breeches, or any part below the waist. A man on his knees to be reckoned down. Thank you.